We will start our second Saturday presentation. Today also I am taking presentation from my home as there is 2 days complete lockdown in Kerala state. We will start the presentation now. Markets has been making record levels. All major indices, Nifty, Sensex, mid cap and small caps are making at record levels. On daily basis, markets are going up. Some section of investors are frustrated with the market as there are no signs of correction as they are waiting for correction to re-enter it, but market is not giving any opportunity for them. On a daily basis, some sectors were doing well. One day IT is doing well, one day pharma is doing well, one day banking is doing well. So as a sector rotation, every day some sectors were doing well. If large cap indices are not doing well, then mid cap broader market is doing well. So overall, it's a very good market. It's a market not to be missed because these are the times where we can make very good money. So these times we should not stay away from the market. So in this presentation, till we end, see the last slides, some important slides I have added at the end of the presentation. It will be very helpful to you. So please stay throughout the presentation. So on COVID cases in India, COVID cases has peaked out and it has fell very sharply. That is one positive news we have got in the last 3 weeks. And if you see that last month we have got almost 4 lakh cases per day, which was the second wave peak. From there, it has fell very sharply, just like how it went up very sharply. The same way it has fell down very sharply. Now, as on yesterday, the daily new cases were around 85,000, which is almost a 70-day low. So that is one positive for us, not only as a market point of view, but as a human being point of view. It's a positive as COVID second wave has been tapering quickly. The other important event which is happening in the market is the euphoric move in the mid and small cap stocks. Many stocks which are beaten down has been going up very sharply. In 1 or 2 weeks time, stock prices are going up by 30 to 50%. Example, Deepak Fertilizer, one company which fell from 400 to less than 100 rupees in the last 3 years. Now it has again came to 400, and in the last 10-15 days it has gained almost 40-50%. So this type of move has been happening in many mid and small cap stocks. Some are based on fundamentals, some are based on speculative. But action is there in mid and small cap stocks. On negative side for India, crude oil prices has been continuously rallying. And it is now well above $70 Brent crude oil, which is negative as far as our macro point of view, because we import almost 80% of our crude oil needs. So that is very negative. But still, market is not discounting that. On the other hand, some of the crude related companies like ONGC, they are reacting positively because of crude oil price going up. What is interesting to see is the retail investors. They are very cautious. We can divide the retail investor category into 2 types. Some investors who have come into the market in the last 1 year, 2 years, post lockdown, many new retail investors has come into the market. They are not cautious. Actually, they are trading a lot. They are fully invested and they are remain very bullish because they don't have the previous experience of any bubble. They are very cautious. But on the other hand, the investors who are in the market for the last 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, they are very cautious. And many of them are staying away from the market, keeping cash, sold the share yearly, and they are waiting for the market to fall. But market is not giving any opportunity for them to enter. So majority of retail investors were cautious, except the investors who have come in the last 1 year. They remain invested and they are very active in the market. And if you see the Nifty and Sensex, it has gone up almost to 6.5% in the last 1 month. That is between last second Saturday meeting and this second Saturday meeting. Mid and small cap at 11 and 13%. So mid and small cap has gone up almost twice that of large cap indices, that is Sensex and Nifty. And overall, it's a very good market. And unless we get a global correction, our market will not fall sharply. That is what we are expecting. So world market has to fall to trigger any major correction in our market. But undertone is very bullish, and majority of them who are waiting on the sidelines. That also makes us more bullish, because only when everyone is invested and everyone is in a euphoric mode, then only market is to correct. Otherwise, we may get small correction. It won't long last. Again, if the market will start going up. So overall, it's a very good market in the last 1 month, and we expect the trend to continue. And this is the COVID wave in India. And if you see that the daily new cases, it has peaked around 4 lakh. So during our first wave, the case was 1 lakh per day. Peak case was 1 lakh per day. And in the second wave, it is 4 lakhs. That is 4 times that of first wave peak. Actually, it was expected that second wave will peak out 4 to 5 times of first wave. Exactly that has happened. So many of them experts are comparing with the Spanish flu, which happened in 1919, 1918 at that time, where exactly the same thing happened. The second wave peak at that time was almost 4 times of the first wave peak. Then after the second wave, then third wave and fourth wave came. But third and fourth wave were not that large as of second wave. Third and fourth wave, if any, it comes, it may be 2 times of that of first wave. That means in third wave, maximum we may get around 2 lakh cases per day. But this time, I don't expect 2 lakh cases also to come down, because 2 lakh cases also to be there in the third wave, because many of them are getting vaccinated, as well as there will be some herd immunity. So because of that, even third wave comes, it won't be that much short. But one thing what is very surprising is that beyond scientific, there is something is there in this COVID. For example, in Kerala, if you see, almost 25% of the population has been vaccinated. Everybody is wearing a double mask, but still the number of cases are not falling when compared to other states. If you take states like Tamil Nadu, no one is wearing mask. The population who are wearing mask is very, very less when compared to Kerala. The vaccinated population also very less in Tamil Nadu. But still the cases are falling very sharply in Tamil Nadu, whereas in Kerala, where the vaccinated population is very high, and people are, majority of the population are listening to what government says by wearing 2 masks and social distance, they are following much more better when compared to other states. But still the pace of case fall is much less when compared to other states like West Bengal, Andhra, and other states, where the case fell very sharply, whereas in Kerala it is gradually falling in spite of high vaccination. So in this COVID, there is something beyond our knowledge which is happening. So the main negative which has happened in the second wave is the high human fatality. Many people has died in this. In the first wave, as per my knowledge, I did not hear many people dying at that time. Many of my relatives or some person who I know that they got infected with this COVID. Whereas in the second wave, many people has died, and I could be able to recognize the people who have died. Similarly, for everyone who could have able to recognize the people who have died during the second wave. So human fatality has been very high. As per government records, it is just 4 times of human fatality when compared to what has happened during the first wave. But in reality, it has been much higher. So that has happened. But on the economy point of view, the impact has been much less, because during the first wave, there has been a pan-India lockdown, whereas in the second wave, only a state has been asked to take the decision, and the lockdown has not been that much severe. In states where the cases are lower, the lockdown has been not that much severe, and they opened the economy gradually. So the impact on the economy is much less than what we have seen in the first wave, whereas the human fatality has been much higher when compared to the first wave. But if any third wave comes, means the severe, my expectation is that the severity of the third wave will be much less than second wave, because many people are getting vaccinated, as well as there has been presence of antibodies due to the infection they got already, and because of this presence of antibodies and vaccination, some herd immunity would have emerged in the coming months, where the third wave will be less severe. This is the global COVID, daily COVID cases. So the second, if you see that almost 8 lakh cases came per day, but half of it has been coming from India and Brazil. Even now, if you see that the daily cases has been around 3 lakh. And if you see India and Brazil, they contribute almost 50% of global cases. So in India and Brazil, if the cases starts coming down, then global cases will start coming down. Already in some of the countries like UK, we have started seeing the third wave, where the daily cases have again started going up, and UK government is thinking of putting another lockdown, even though the population has been almost 50% has been vaccinated. Again, the new cases have been started going up. This used to happen. So whenever the economy starts opening up, means definitely the cases will again start going up, but the severity of the next wave will be much less when compared to the second wave. In US also, the number of cases have started falling very sharply. Now it is around 10,000 per day, and they have completely opened up the economy, and many citizens, the US, they have started going for tours and travels. And there is a possibility that some cases may go up in coming months, but the severity will be much less when compared to the second wave. On micro side, if you see that the domestic GDP data was released, and as our economy got opened in the fourth quarter, that is January, February, March, the GDP has come into positive to 1.6%. So the first quarter and second quarter, there has been an degrowth of 24 and 7. Then we have a flat third quarter, and in fourth quarter, it has gone up by 1.6% GDP growth. Overall, if you see for FY21, where the maximum impact of the COVID lockdown, we had it in the first half, overall GDP has contracted by around 7.3%. Actually, what was expected was that our economy will make a V-shaped recovery from first quarter of FY22, but due to the second wave, now we are expecting a meaningful recovery in our GDP growth from third quarter of FY22. Now we are in the first quarter, it is going to end by June, and then second quarter will be there. By third quarter, we may start seeing a meaningful recovery in our economy. We expect that even if a third wave and fourth wave comes, it will not have much impact on human as well as on the economy. So overall GDP has contracted by around 7.3% in FY21, that is April to March of FY20 and 21. So for the current year, economists are expecting around 8% growth. So what is going to happen is that we have lost almost 2 years of economic growth due to the COVID. For example, if you take 100 as a base for economy in FY20, in FY21, what happened? GDP has contracted by 7.3. So from 100, it has fell to 70, to 93. From 100, as GDP has contracted, it has come to 93. So in the current year, we are going to grow by around 8%. So from 93, it will come to 100. So overall, what we have, our size of GDP 2 years back, that we are going to reach by FY22. So overall, 2 years of GDP growth we have lost because of the COVID impact. So the main impact which is going to be seen because of that is the government finances. Because last 2 years, government has borrowed in FY21, government has borrowed almost 18 lakh crore. And in the current year, they are going to borrow around 12 lakh crore. So overall, 30 lakh crore government has borrowed, whereas there is no meaningful growth in GDP. That means debt to GDP ratio has been increasing very sharply, because the GDP ratio remains same, whereas the debt for in the last 2 years, it has gone up very sharply. as you all know that debt don't come freely. When government borrows money means they have to pay interest for that. Government is paying around 6% interest for the money they are borrowing. So 30 lakh crore means the additional interest burden of 1.8 lakh crore, it will come for them. If GDP has grown during that period means they would have got additional income through taxes. Whereas since GDP remains stagnant for the last 2 years, the servicing of debt will become very difficult for the government due to very low tax collection on a stagnant GDP. And macro factor, if you see, means debt to GDP ratio has increased very sharply. That is the main impact it has happened on the due to COVID on the government finances. There are some positives also happening now. What I have told about GDP growth and all, it is a negative, whereas some positives are there which will help our economy in the next 2-3 years. Is that the exports after a very long time it has been doing very well, and if you see that in the last 3 months, the export has been well above $30 billion per month. In the month of March, it was 34 billion. In the month of April, it is 30 billion. And in the month of May, it is 32 billion US dollars. In spite of 2 months of lockdown, April and May, two months of the majority of states, they were in lockdown. Still, we could manage to show good, decent export growth during that period. So exports are doing very well after a very long time. That is one big tailwind for the economy. And it is expected that exports will continue to do well because world economy is recovering. US is doing very well. Europe is started recovering well. So overall exports has been doing well. And some of the countries previously which used to import from China, they are targeting other countries to replace China, and that also helping India. So exports is doing exceedingly well, and we expect the positive trend in exports to continue, and it will be well above what government has budgeted during the current year because of demand going up. Still, where China has it wants to stop exports from the country, India is replacing that, and from India, still exports has been doing very well. So overall, exports will do well in coming months, and that is a big tailwind for our economy. And the second important positive factor is the monsoon. Monsoon is expected to be normal. In the latest IMD, Indian Meteorological Department forecast, they have forecasted that it will be 102% of long period average for the current season. And monsoon has started very well. And if monsoon is good for the current year, then it will be the third consecutive normal monsoon. Last 2 years, monsoon has been exceedingly good. It was well above average, and because of good monsoon, agriculture sector has been doing well, and agri exports is one of the best performing sector in the last 1 year because of good monsoon we had in the last 2 years. And if the current year monsoon is good, then it will be the third consecutive normal monsoon, and normal monsoon is very important for rural economy. Even though only 15% of rural economy contributes to the GDP, it provides almost 50% of the employment. So rural economy, which is directly linked to monsoon, if monsoon is good means they will do very well. And one big positive factor which is happening is that globally many agri product prices are rallying very sharply. For example, sugar prices are going up. Oil seed prices, soya bean prices are going up. Like that, many agri product prices are going up very sharply in the global market. So if agri product prices are going up, means the amount a farmer is going to get by exporting his product will be very, very high, and that will push up the rural economy. And if you see that in the last 10 days till June 3rd, June 10th, that is in June 1st to June 10th period, the overall monsoon has been 21% above normal. And if you see that for the next 1 week also, throughout India, monsoon is expected to be very good. So overall, we are expecting a good month, June month, and July and August, we have to see how it pans out. but the start for the monsoon has been good, and the forecast by both government agency IMD and the private agency SkyMet is that the monsoon is going to be good, and in this good time, the agri product prices throughout the world is going up. So overall, it will give you a good positive trend for the rural economy. So exports are doing well, and rural economy will do well because of the monsoon. This too is a big tailwind for our economy. And Namura Business Resumption Index, which calculates how much our economy has bounced back from the COVID. And if you see in the last 1.5 years, if you see means, if you take 100 as a base means, it fell to almost 44 during the May of last year when complete lockdown was there. Then when unlock came, gradually started recovering. It went to almost a pre-COVID level of 95, 96 level. Then again, Maharashtra started imposing the lockdown. They are the first states to impose it. And then Delhi started imposing lockdown. And because of that, one by one, other states have started imposing the lockdown for the second wave. And because of that, the Nomura India Business Resumption Index again fell to almost 60 level in the month of May and late May. And if you see now, it is started gradually improving. Now it has come to 69. We are expecting it will gradually move again, and by July, August, it will again move to the 90, 95 range. By after September, most probably it will go above 100, meaning that the economy will bounce back to pre-COVID level. GST collection has been very good. So overall, in this pandemic, one important thing which has happened is that the GST collection has been very good. One of the reasons why GST collection has been much better than expected was that many unorganized business has been going to organized level. That is why the tax collection has been improving. The other important thing for the GST collection to be good is, during the last from January to March, is that the auto sales has been very good. So auto is one of the important sector which contributes to higher GST collection. Its role in GST collection is very, very high, and because of very high auto sales, the overall tax collection in the month of January, February, March has been very high. In April, because of some seasonality, the tax collection fell from 1,40,000 to 1 lakh level. And as well as because of some lockdown imposed, the tax collection has come down. But it is relatively better than expected. Economists were expecting that the GST collection will be much less than 1 lakh crore, but it has come above 1 lakh crore, which is overall positive. The GST collection trend is likely to continue strongly in coming months also, because of the organized sector moving to unorganized sector, moving to organized sector. Overall tax compliance has been improving. That is one reason why the GST collection has been good. Liquidity side also, it has been good. So if you see that markets it stands on two factors. One is the fundamental and the second one is the liquidity. If there is no liquidity, means then market will fall in spite of fundamentals. As in, liquidity is one of the important factor for any market. If you see that the mutual fund flows has been around 10,000 in the month of May, mutual fund flows. We had a negative flows during July to February. People were, the investors were redeeming their mutual fund flows because of the COVID scare, and many of them have stopped SIP also during that period. Overall, we had a negative inflow from July 20 to February. From March onwards, the inflow have started improving. March, it is slightly below 10,000. April, it was lower due to seasonal factor. Now, in the month of May, it is a very strong, almost 10,000 crores inflow were there in the equity funds. That is one positive as far as liquidity is concerned. And foreign flows, if you see that the foreign flows were neither selling in the market nor buying the market. Overall, the inflows for the financial year for FY22, only 75 days has gone. In April, May and June, we are almost 10 days has passed. So 73 days has been passed in the current financial year. overall net inflow has been very flat, zero. It is. So one day FIs were buying and one day they are selling, and overall inflow from the FIs has been flat. Whereas for FY21, it has been a record inflow of $36 billion. It is one of the highest. It is the highest ever yearly flow in any financial year, where when the FIs were allowed to enter India to invest in our market. Foreign investors, they were allowed to enter in to invest in Indian market from 1992 onwards. When you take from 1992 onwards to till date, if you take any financial year, the biggest inflow was the last financial year. That is 36 billion US dollar. We have got it. Between FY16 and FY20, there was not much inflow into it. One of the reason why the inflows were not strong during that period is the dollar index has been very strong. FI flows is directly correlated to the dollar index. If dollar remains strong means then the FI flows will be less, whereas the dollar index is weak means then the FI flows used to be strong. FY11 and to FY15, if you see, means foreign flows has been very strong. At that time, it was due to very weak dollar index. So whenever dollar index weakens means foreign investors used to put money in the emerging markets. After that, dollar index became strong. 5 years of very low inflow. Now again, the flows have started. Dollar index also very weak now. It has come to around 90 levels, and we expect that dollar index will remain weak in coming years, which means that it is positive for emerging markets. One sector which has seen a very sharp rally is the commodity sector, where no one has expected this type of rally will happen. And 1 year back, everyone were expecting that commodity is one sector which won't do for the next many years. Like that was the expectation by many analysts. Now, if you take any commodity, be it ferrous, that is iron and steel, which is doing very well, and non-ferrous, copper, aluminum, zinc, lead, they are doing very well. Agri commodities, many agriculture commodity prices been going up very sharply. And if you take energy, that is crude oil prices, gases. So commodity across the sector has been doing exceedingly well, and they are seeing sharp up move in prices. Steel prices has gone up more than 50-60% in the last 6 months. And similarly, many commodity prices have seen very sharp up move. Some of the reason is due to supply disruption and hope of economic recovery. That also has driven prices. And if you take ferrous and non-ferrous material, it is in the hands of China, which used to control the prices. China has clearly told that they want to increase the domestic supply of steel and other commodities. That means they want to reduce the exports of these materials. When exports comes down from the China means then prices globally, if you leave aside China, in other countries there has been some shortage of goods, because previously China used to export a lot of steel. Now when they stop exporting steel means naturally some supply disruption used to happen in the global level. That is also one reason why the steel prices has been going up. And India is well placed to capitalize the steel exports, because in India, one of the biggest positive we have as far as steel sector is concerned is the iron ore, domestic supply of iron ore we have. So that which is the major raw material as far as steel making is concerned. For steel, two raw materials are there. One is the iron ore. The second one is the coking coal. Iron ore we have, whereas coking coal we depend on some countries like Australia and Indonesia for making steel. Whereas because of a high supply of iron ore, many steel companies are making record profits. Even if you see yesterday, SAIL came out with results, and they have reduced the debt considerably because of higher steel prices. The inventory level for SAIL also has came down. So steel is in a good position to seize the global opportunity of demand. And because of higher commodity prices, one negative thing that will happen is that the inflation will go up very sharply. Already everyone has been started seeing the inflation. And if you see in US, that in consumer price inflation has touched 5%. Even yesterday, when I went to buy one bread packet, last week I bought for 45 rupees. Yesterday the same, it has they have increased the prices by 10%. Yesterday I bought it for 50 rupees. That means straight away they increased the bread prices by 10%. That means the inflation has been going up. It will definitely affect the consumers like us. Whereas positive side, it will kickstart the economic activity. The example I will give one. Tata Steel and SAIL, if you see, they both are steel companies. Tata Steel has more than 1 lakh crore of debt, and SAIL more than 50,000 crores of debt they had. Now, because of higher steel prices, they got very good cash flows. They made a huge profit, and because of very high cash flows, they reduced the debt. Tata Steel reduced the debt to from more than 1 lakh crore to 75,000 crore, almost 25-30,000 crores debt they have reduced it. SAIL from 50,000 crore debt they have reduced to, it has come down to 35,000 crores. So when the debt level comes down, what will happen is that these company will go in for a capex plan. They will start expanding their plant. They will spend money on capex, which will boost economic activities. Once they start capex means then engineering company will do well. Once engineering company does well means then more job opportunity will get created. So higher commodity price will lead to higher inflation, which is negative for consumers. Whereas for economic activity, it will boost economic activities as company will go for capex plan, which will which is positive for overall economy. Brent crude oil, if you say, I told that many commodity prices are going up, and if you see that the Brent crude oil prices has gone up very sharply from the low of almost near to $20 during the COVID first wave time. Now consistently crude oil prices are going up. Now it has gone to almost $72, $73. We India import majority of crude oil from Gulf countries and African countries. So whenever we import means we have to pay higher money for the every barrel of crude oil. So that is one reason why the retail prices of petrol and diesel, petrol prices has crossed 100 rupees in many states. As petrol are highly taxed product, when the underlying crude oil price goes up means then everything is passed on to the consumers. So when crude oil prices goes up, the tax also will go up, which means that it will be double-edged sword for the consumers. Whereas the government, what they get is the taxes when crude oil prices goes up, because they used to put tax on ad valorem basis. When crude oil prices goes up from $30 to $40 means, when crude oil prices is $30 means if 10% taxation means they used to get $3 as tax. When the price goes to $40 means they will get $4 as tax. So when every crude oil price increase in dollar, government will get more taxation. But for consumers, crude oil price will go up as well as the tax burden will also go up. That is big negative for consumers. And many people were now started asking for the government to cut taxes, but government tells that we want to discourage the use of IC engine vehicles. So we will keep the crude oil prices high so that people will switch to electric vehicles. But that is one of the lame reason they are telling, helping people to forcing people to switch to electric vehicles by keeping the high petroleum and fuel prices. It won't work because electric vehicle prices are very high, and moreover we don't have necessary infrastructure to charge it, and it won't work as government expects that people will switch to electric vehicles. And the government is trying to some other ways to reduce the crude oil import. One way government is trying is the ethanol blending. As you all know that India is one of the country which manufactures, which produces highest amount of sugar in the world, and we consume around 25 million tons of sugar per year, whereas our production of sugar is almost 35 million ton, and a part of it is exported. 5 million ton is exported. Still, the amount of sugar produced is a surplus for our country. In order to reduce that surplus, government is converting part of the sugarcane juice into ethanol instead of converting the sugarcane juice into sugar. Government is asking sugar companies to convert into ethanol, and that will be blended with petrol. So that is a very good policy taken by the government, because when crude oil prices goes up very sharply, means by blending part of the excess available sugarcane juice in our country, we can blend it with the petrol and we can sell it. The beauty in that is that till last year, the ethanol blended with the petrol, it was lost to the government, because only when crude oil prices goes up, this will be economical. Till ethanol prices has been fixed by the government, and when crude oil is around $40 means actually blending ethanol with the crude oil is not a is not an viable option, because the price of ethanol are very high and crude oil prices are lower. Now only the ethanol price has come at par with the crude oil prices. From here on, any increase in the crude oil prices, blending of ethanol with the petroleum fuel will be very profitability for India. If you see that all the sugar companies has been doing well, one of the reason why all the sugar companies has been doing very well is that two things are happening. One is that the excess sugarcane production in our country, that will uh, come down by converting the sugarcane juice into the ethanol, which will be used for the blending with petrol. So the sugar supply will come down, as well as the a part of it be used for making ethanol, which is highly profitable for sugar companies, because government has guaranteed a fixed price for ethanol. All the oil marketing companies, SPCL, BPCL, IOC, they are buying ethanol from the sugarcane companies. Government wants to blend it to up to 20% of the ethanol with the petrol. It is feasible, because in Brazil and all, they are blending almost 40-50% of ethanol with the petrol. Brazil is the top producer of sugar. Only they convert 50% of the sugar cane into sugar. Balance the sugar cane, they are converting into ethanol and blending with petrol. In India, right now it is 10%. Government want to increase to 20% by 2023. So because of this policy move and the high crude oil prices, we expect the sugar shares will continue to do well. 3-4 companies are there which have high capacity of ethanol. One is the Balrampur Chini. They already have very high capacity of the ethanol. They are putting another plant to increase the capacity of ethanol. That will get completed by 2022. That is next year, December. That expansion plan will get completed. One contrarian call because of this ethanol blending is the Renuka sugar. Renuka sugar, we all know that the company had very high debt. It went to huge trouble in the last 6-7 years. They have very high capacity of ethanol. So those who want to make a contrarian view and want to buy Renuka sugar means, they can consider buying it because of high capacity of the ethanol they are having in our country. The other companies which have very high ethanol capacity is the Dampur Sugar, then Dalmia Bharat, Triveni. These are the companies where they have the ethanol capacity they are having. So that they won't convert the sugarcane juice into sugar. Instead, they will convert into ethanol and sell it to oil marketing companies. So one important data where throughout the world they will watch very closely is the inflation data. 2 days back, this US CPI inflation, that is consumer price inflation, came. It was 5%. The interest in the US, we all know that it is around 2% and less than that. Whereas the inflation has gone well above the official interest rate they are US Fed rate they are having, which means that if this inflation continues to be very high, means it will any correction in the market which can trigger is the inflation data. This data, if inflation continues to be very high for the next 3 months, 6 months, means this could well be the reason for market to get into correction. Right now, most of the economists are telling that the higher inflation is due to transition period from lockdown to the open economy. That is the reason why the inflation has been going up. That is what told by many fund managers and others. Whereas if the inflation continues to be very high for the next 3 months, 6 months, means then Fed has to increase the interest rate, and that will be the one main reason which could trigger correction not only in US but throughout the entire market, entire world. Because right now the global stock prices are going up, and one of the biggest support is the very low interest rate in the world. Any sharp increase in the sustained increase in the inflation in the world means then the global banks, global agencies like US Fed and European central banks, they have no other way to increase. They have no other way other than to increase the interest rate. So this data we have to watch very closely. Every month it will be released, and if you see that it was around 1.3%, less than 2% for many months from July to February, and March onwards it has started going up very sharply. And if continues to goes up means then it may trigger some kind of correction in the world markets. This data one has to have a close watch. Q4 results companies has been announcing. As you all know, generally as per SEBI regulation, 2 months SEBI used to give for annual results, whereas for quarterly results they used to give 45 days. For example, if suppose if April, May, June quarter company has to announce, means by August 15, first quarter results has to be announced. So 45 days they will give. For annual results from April to March, they will give 60 days. That is the usual time frame SEBI gives for companies to mandatorily announce their results. But due to COVID, this time what they have said is that second wave was very strong, so they have given 90 days time instead of giving 60 days or 2 months time. They have given 90 days time. That is why this time we are having an elongated result season, April, May, June. So till June 30, companies has given time to announce their results. But till June 30, we will get the Q4 results and annual results. And if you see that overall results has been in line with expectation, and IT companies, there is no major surprise in that. That is why if you see the post results, all the large IT companies fell, except Wipro, TCS, Infosys, and HCL Tech. The three companies fell post results. Now again they are bouncing back. But select mid caps, they have surprised on upside, especially the chemical based companies and some of the plywood based companies, then tiles companies, they have surprised on the upside, and the stock prices has been doing well. Now one of the reason for the higher profitability is that most of the companies, they have gone for cost cutting, and especially IT companies, most of them have cut cost, and that is aiding the profitability. And if you take the chemical companies, many of them got inventory gains and the end product prices higher. That is one reason why chemical companies have posted good results. And the higher end product prices mainly steel companies, where end product prices has gone up very sharply, and commodity companies, they all were doing very well, mainly because of higher end product prices, which are dictated by the global prices. So overall, it has been a good result season, and the cash flow has been very good because of lower inventories and receivables. Cash flow has been very strong for majority of companies I used to track. Even if you take government companies, the cash flow has been very government dependent companies. For example, ship making companies are there. I used to track two companies, that is Cochin Shipyard and Garden Reach. The receivables has come down. Their cash position has gone up. Similarly, construction companies where they used to do for government projects, their receivables has come down. When receivables comes down, means naturally cash flow used to improve. And other companies also, majority of companies have seen good cash flows. That is one big positive. Because of higher cash flows, balance sheet were getting more and more stronger, especially in the commodity space like SAIL and Tata Steel. The balance sheet has become very stronger. These two companies, mainly because of very high debt, most of them were avoiding that. Now they have reduced debt very sharply, and balance sheet has become more stronger now. So overall, Q4 results has been good. By June 30, we will get the overall all companies results. And when you compare to last year and this year, if you see, this is the data taken from Business Standard paper, where they used to daily update the results. And when you compare with 1,108 companies results, sales in this quarter, it has gone up by 19% when compared to last year. And profit almost 453% it has gone up, mainly due to very sharp increase in profit by companies like Tata Steel and SAIL, and many banks which were posting huge losses last year, they have posted profit this year. Due to this type of turnaround, the profitability has gone up very sharply. During the same period last year, it was bad because lockdown was announced in the month of March. So some sales has been lost during that period. Sales, it has come down by almost 7%, and profitability contracted by 16% last year, mainly because many banks showed huge losses at that time. That is the reason why profitability fell very sharply. Mainly PSU banks showed heavy losses at that time. And because of that, both sales and profitability contracted severely during the same period last year. This quarter, it has been very good. This data have taken from a Business Standard paper. Daily, they used to update it. So now many investors were asking, everywhere there is lockdown, then how company, why stock market is going up? It's a bubble, it's a Harshad Mehta like a situation. Even RBI has been warning that there is a bubble in the market. Like that, many retail investors used to ask me, as a fundamental analyst, I used to track the company profitability for buying or selling any shares. And if I see that majority of companies which I track, they have posted very good results. For example, yesterday, Cochin Shipyard came out with the results. And if you see that the company almost 50% increase in result by increase in profitability was there. So Monday, I am expecting Cochin Shipyard to do well, mainly because not due to speculative reason, mainly because of the underlying fundamentals have improved. They have executed many orders, and if you see that because of higher execution, the profit margin has improved, and company has posted 50% higher profitability in the fourth quarter. And if you see in the last 1 year, in spite of first quarter, they have lost almost 2 months of production. In spite of that, they have managed to show just a marginal drop in the profitability when compared to last year. Monday, I am expecting Cochin Shipyard to do well. So the profitability has been improving in many companies. One of the reason is that from the organized sector, overall economy from the unorganized sector, it has been moving to organized sector. That is the main reason. Many small companies and all, they could not be able to source the raw material due to lockdown and COVID disruption. That market share is getting garnered by the organized sector, and which is helping many companies to post good results. And there was also some pent up demand due to lockdown. Lockdown last year we had 2 quarters of lockdown, 1 quarter completely, and second quarter there was a partial lockdown was there. So but that pent up demand was there. And another important thing is that many people stopped spending money for the tours and travels. Especially if you take in a state like Kerala, many people used to go for a tour whenever they used to get 2 days, 3 days holidays. That did not happen. So that money has been kept with them, and they are spending that money. So that also is helping the companies to increase the profitability, whereas the companies which are in the tour and travel, they are getting affected. But that business has been moving to the consumption based companies, where many people are buying consumer durables and other thing, home improvements they are buying. One person loss has made another person's profit. So the that sector which is benefiting from the spending by the public, that is doing well. And government is also spending a lot of money, and they are giving money to the public to spend. For example, now recently Tamil Nadu DMK party has come to power. For every ration card, they have given 4,000 rupees because of the lockdown due to the second wave. That money is being spent by the people. So the overall very high government taking debt and giving money to people, and people are spending. So indirectly, if you see, means government is helping people to spend more money, and moreover, government has given money to the projects where they are doing. For example, as I told you, company Cochin Shipyard, Garden Ridge, and all government has given a lot of money to them to speed up the project. Similarly, for many infrastructure projects like load laying projects and all, government has given giving money and asking them to speed up the project. So government is spending a lot of money, that also keeping the economy in a good shape. And the commodity cycle is turning, and because of turning in the commodity cycle, that also helping many companies, especially in steel sector, agri sector, where companies are posting very good profitability. Though there are some very high valuations are there. For many companies, there is some fundamental justification is happening, which is boosting their profitability. So finally, we are coming to the end of the presentation. Now, three, two important slides are there. So what we are seeing now is a typical bull market. I have seen three bull markets in 1992 Harshad Mehta bull market, and 2000 this dot-com bull market, and 2007 where it was a global bull market. And if you see the in all the three major bull markets, majority of stocks will see sharp rally. Whenever there is a bull market, majority of stocks will see sharp rally, except there may be some exception where out of 10, one or two stocks may not do well. For example, now ITC is not doing well. They are not participating. Hindustan Unilever is not participating. Bharati Airtel is not participating. Like that, out of 10, one or two may not doing well. Balance 8 stocks will do very well. And if you remain invested, means you will get very good profit. And one of the major characteristics of a bull market is that stock price will not react to any negative news. For example, 2 days back, US CPI inflation came. It came well above expectation, but Dow Jones did not fall. Yeah, and if you see, even in India, some of the companies which have posted below expected results. For example, PA Industry, it is a stock which has been loved by institutions, and it has been heavily owned by institutions. And the company results were slightly below expected. The stock price fell by 5% on that day. But if you see now, the stock price has gone to all-time high level. So stock price will not react to any negative news. Even if it reacts to negative news, it will be for 1 or 2 day only. Only for temporary period it will react. Then again, stock price will start going up. And if any positive news come, stock prices will see an euphoric move. For example, yesterday Marks and Pharma went up by 20% on a news that some PE player RBMed is going to invest into the company. So like any positive news comes, means the stock price will react in a euphoric manner. Stock price will go up by 20% in a single day, or even 40-50% in a matter of a few days. Rupa Industry, previously we have recommended that. After the result came, it went up sharply. Lux Industry, which is in the innerwear segment, when results were good, the stock prices went up very sharply. Like that, the characteristic of a bull market is that majority of stocks will see sharp rally. For any some reasons will be attributed for the rally, and stock price will not react to any negative news. But if any positive news comes, means the stock price will go up very sharply. The only exception I have seen now in this bull market is that there is no retail investor euphoria. Whenever bull market is there in 1992 or in 2007 or, or in 2000, retail investors tend to get huge euphoric mode. They try to buy whatever company is available, but that is missing till now. But I am very confident that retail investors will come back into the market at that time. When before this bull market end, retail investors will definitely get into the market. That retail euphoria is missing, which makes me more confident that the bull market still has more steam left. What investors should do in bull market is that bull market always surprise on the upside. You cannot without any rational. Many stock prices will go up based on the fundamentals. Similarly, many stock prices will go up without any rational. The stock price will go up, but that is the characteristic of the market. But bull market will always surprise on the upside. For example, if you take based on the good result, if you expect a stock price will touch 1,000 rupees and you keep it at 1,000 rupees target, miss. During bull market, what used to happen is that it used to go to 1,500 or 2,000. It will give, it will surprise on the upside without any rational. Stocks which used to trade around 30, 40 PE, it used to trade around 70, 80 PE. PE expansion will happen very aggressively in the bull market. So in this type of bull market, one should not miss it. Generally, bull market used to happen once in a decade. If you see that every decade, it used to happen once in 8 years or once in 10 years. A very good bull market will happen. Once if you miss the initial segment of the bull market, miss, then it will be very difficult to make money, because at the fag end, if you enter, miss, most of the money which you earn during the late period of bull market, when correction comes, means that money generally used to be lost by all type of investors. So retail investors, what I'm advising is that retail investors should not stay away from the market waiting for the correction to enter. Right now we are having a very good market, and many investors were staying away. In my known source, many investors have sold all the shares, thinking they have sold a few months back. They are waiting for the correction to enter, but correction is not happening. They are asking me on a daily basis why market is going up, when correction will come. Like that, they are asking it. So whenever in a bull market, correction never comes till we remain, we fully invested. And a retail investors should not waste this bull market. If you are cautious, means at least you invest part of the money, and part of the money we can keep it in cash, or you can increase the cash position. But not participating completely is not an advisable. Staying completely away from the market is not an advisable. Even now, there are many good stocks are available, which are available at a decent valuation, where growth prospects are good. We can invest in that type of money, in that type of stock. But because market has been going up very sharply, so I will completely sell and stay away from it till the correction happens. Means it is not an advisable in the bull market. And try to have a diversified portfolio. Try to invest in many sectors and stocks, because right now what is happening is that one day pharma is going up, one day IT is going up, one day banks are going up. And if you have a diversified portfolio, means daily your portfolio will remain active, and you can, and you also will be well mingled in the market. So try to have a diversified portfolio. Have some investment in the stocks. Don't 100% stay away from the market. And if you are cautious, means increase the cash position, but completely staying away from the market is not advisable. And the events to watch, global markets, we have to watch it, because of what I personally feel is that any correction that has to come into the Indian market, it should come from it will trigger from the global market only, and the global market will dictate Indian market correction, and we have to watch it very closely. And COVID second wave trend, we have to see it, how it ends. My personal feeling is that it will taper down, but it won't come to a very low level. Daily we will get some cases. It won't taper down to 100%. It will come down, but won't taper down to 100%. And again, we may get some time to time some increase in the COVID cases. Thank you. Thanks. Now we will see the recommendations. So this month we have recommending 5 shares based on some themes. Lupin is the first stock we are recommending, and if you see that it is one of the few stocks which hasn't touched the previous high prices, still far below than what from its lifetime high prices. If you see any other large pharma companies like Cipla, Dr. Reddy, and Cadila, Sun Pharma, not Sun Pharma, Lupin. If you see some of the Cadila, Dr. Reddy, and Cadila, they have touched an all-time high, whereas Lupin and Sun Pharma still trading below their all-time high. Lupin recently they have sold one business in the Japan, and they have reduced the debt considerably. Now company has become almost a zero debt company. Still they have some issues with the US FDA. Some of the plants are under official action indicated, and so, some of them have some warning issues are there. US FDA issues are there. They are trying to sort it out, and we expect Lupin will do well. They are mainly concentrating on the inhaler market, just like Cipla, and they have launched inhaler in US also, and which is boosting their profitability. We expect Lupin to do well in coming days and increase in their launches in US, as well as the US FDA issues getting sorted out. The second stock we are recommending is the Power Grid. And if you see that in the last 2 weeks, the power stocks are doing very well. And if you take Power Grid, the company still is reasonably valued, and it's a high dividend paying company. And those who want to have a stable income as well as a conservative approach can consider investing in the Power Grid. Rallis India, we have already recommended many times, and the stock is trading at an all-time high. And it is a subsidiary of Tata Chemical. And we all know that all the Tata Group companies are doing very well, and it is the cheapest valued Tata share. In spite of very good business prospects, still it is trading at a reasonable value. And valuation wise, if you see, means it is the cheapest among Tata Group companies. And we are expecting around 15 rupees EPS for current year and 18 rupees EPS for next year. And company has lined up a good expansion plan for the next 5 years. And we expect company to consistently show a growth of 20% in coming years. Considering the growth prospects, still stock is available at a reasonable valuation, and one can safely invest in Rallis India. The fourth company is the Pidilite Industry, and the company is consistently doing well, mainly because of the PE expansion. In 2010, 2010, if you see that Pidilite was trading around 20 PE, and now it is trading around 95 PE. So there has been a considerable increase in the PE in the Pidilite industry. But business-wise, they are doing very well, and we expect a 10% nominal 10% increase in stock prices in current situation. And the last one which we are recommending is the Hutco. It is a government-owned company. Still, it is trading below the issue price. It's a high dividend yield company. The company used to give very good dividend, and most of the loans they are giving it for the government agency. So the problem of becoming an NPA is very, very less in the Hutco, and we expect the company to see a decent movement in the coming years, coming months, and one can invest in all the 5 companies. As far as last month review, if you see that most of the stock has done very well. JK Paper, ICICI Security, Dhanuka, all the 3 companies has given almost 15% return in the last 1 month. As far as ICICI Security is concerned, we feel the upside is still left. Angel Broking, one company which is one of the competitor, we can't tell the competitor, which is in the same category, same business. They are trading around 900. The EPS is just 10%. The difference is there between ICICI Security and Angel Broking, whereas ICICI Security still trades around a 40% discount to Angel Broking. I expect that discount to get narrowed. As far as business is concerned, ICICI Security has more stable business than the other one which are in this other players where their business highly depends upon the market situation. Whereas ICICI Security, they have diversified business. They have wealth management business as well as the institutional business they have. But we expect, in spite of achieving target, one can continue to hold ICICI Security. And Cadila Healthcare, they are going to launch an vaccine, and we expect that news will come within next 10 days. One can hold Cadila. Once that news comes, means I'm expecting a sharp spike in Cadila Healthcare to happen. That could well happen in the next 10 to 15 days. So these are the recommendations we have given last month. And if you see that Nifty, it has gone up by 6.5%, whereas our portfolio has gone up by 10.8. Only laggard is the SBI Life. One can continue to hold SBI Life for long term. Thank you.